Yes, of course I want to give back as much as they give, but the obligation first and foremost is to myself.
Okay.
And it's my
I'm really happy with the match today. I really had to dig deep. I know that Laura is.
There's anything that you and your team have learned or adapted on how you are approaching the matches or maybe how you're approaching recovery?
May 23rd, 2026. Alex Eala turned 21 years old. She stood in front of the Eiffel Tower, posted a birthday TikTok in a black floral dress, wrote 2 words, "I'm 21," and went to bed knowing she had a first-round match at Roland Garros the next morning. And before any of that, on Roland Garros Media Day, she sat down in front of cameras and dropped a quote that shocked every journalist in that room. She was asked about the pressure of representing the Philippines at Roland Garros. She was asked how she handles millions of Filipinos watching her every move. And she said, "It's nothing compared to the pressures that everyday Filipinos have to face providing for their families. It's nothing compared to what my parents have sacrificed to bring me here." Silence. That quote spread across every Philippine media outlet within the hour. And nobody in the English language tennis world explained what it actually means, or why a 21-year-old saying that at Roland Garros is one of the most extraordinary things any player has said at a Grand Slam this year. Until now. Here is what every other channel missed. This wasn't a throwaway press conference line. This was the 3rd time in 6 months that Eala had made a version of this statement in public, and each time she went further. First at the Philippine Women's Open in January, then in her Tennis Channel interview in Rome, then at Roland Garros Media Day on May 23rd, her birthday, with the whole world watching. 3 times, 3 versions, same core message. And the fact that she keeps saying it, keeps refusing the comfortable pressure narrative, tells you more about who Alex Eala actually is than any ranking or match result ever could.
Let's start with what she actually said, because most channels only reported the surface version. At the Philippine Women's Open in January, Eala won her first ever professional match on home soil. She walked off court 6 at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center in Manila, in front of a sold-out 2,000-seater crowd, and said this to reporters: "Pressure is part of my job, and a lot of people ask me how I handle it. Of course, there's added pressure playing at home, but it's nothing compared to the pressure that regular, everyday Filipinos have to face providing for their families. It's nothing compared to what my parents have sacrificed to bring me here. I'm doing my best and I'm trying to enjoy." The crowd erupted, not because it was diplomatic, not because it was polished, but because it was true, and everyone in that room felt it land. And this is the part nobody connected. 4 months later, at Roland Garros Media Day on her birthday, she said it again. This time on the biggest tennis stage in the world, with microphones from every continent pointing at her, with France 24 and ESPN and Tennis Channel all in the room. At that Media Day press conference, the Punto de Break interview confirmed she told reporters this: "I receive a lot of love and support from the Philippines, and it honestly makes me feel very proud and grateful. I try to embrace it naturally, because ultimately it's a very beautiful thing to represent my country in this way." But then, when pushed harder on pressure, she added the same refrain that she had been building for 6 months. "I believe that the ability to control emotions and use them positively is one of the most important skills an athlete can have. Personally, I feel like I'm handling it quite well. There are tougher moments than others, of course, but overall, I believe I'm learning to manage it." And at Roland Garros, she added the clearest version yet, reported by Punto de Break on May 23rd, the day she turned 21. "I don't feel like I have anything to lose this week, and that also allows me to play with more freedom." 3 separate quotes, 3 versions of the same truth. She is not playing for the Philippines. She is playing for herself, and the Philippines comes with her.
Yes, of course I want to give back as much as they give for me, but the obligation first and foremost is to myself.
Okay.
And it's my journey. I'm really super grateful that everyone, all of these supporters want to follow in that journey that I have. But I owe it to myself first and foremost.
Every channel reported this as a nice thing Eala said about her fans. That's not what this is. This is a 21-year-old at Roland Garros on her birthday in front of the entire tennis world, holding a line that most players in her position would have never said. The comfortable answer was, "My fans give me energy and I want to win for them." That's what every player says. That's the answer that gets clipped for highlights, retweeted, and turned into a poster. Eala went the other way. She acknowledged the fans, she honored them, and then she told you plainly that the obligation runs to herself first. In the Tennis Channel Rome interview, sourced at 317, she said, "The obligation first and foremost is to myself." In the Miami press conference, sourced at 201, she explained the philosophy underneath it. All the work's been done before this tournament, so I'm happy because I've been doing well throughout the whole year. This isn't a tournament where everything's on the line. These are not separate thoughts. They are the same thought, expressed in different forms. And at Roland Garros, on her 21st birthday, she said it with the most confidence she has ever had.
Now, let's talk about where this comes from, because this is the layer no one has reported. In the Tennis Channel Rome interview, at 137, the interviewer asked Eala directly, "You grew up at the Nadal Academy on clay, and yet you say clay is not your strongest surface. How do you explain that gap?" Her answer at 153 was this: "I'm starting to build that relationship, especially at this level. I've competed on clay many times growing up, but playing as a professional is obviously a different game. This is my first season where I've really done these high-level tournaments." Notice what she didn't say. She didn't say, "I'm learning to be comfortable." She said she's building a relationship. That's Nadal language. In the same Rome interview, at 437, she was asked about the most important person or experience she'd encountered since turning professional. She said, at 450, verbatim, "Meeting Rafa and just being able to converse with him on a quite regular basis is crazy to me. And sometimes I'm coached by Tony." Then she paused and added, "If you told me that when I was younger, there's no way I would have believed you." This is a player who knows exactly what she has been given, and also knows exactly what she is carrying. At Roland Garros Media Day, confirmed in the Punto de Bright interview, she said directly about what she absorbs from Nadal and Swiatek on clay. "There are definitely many things you can learn by observing players like Rafa or Iga on clay. It's also true that you have to choose very well what things you can actually incorporate into your game, because Rafa was literally a machine, and obviously not everyone can do what he did, but there are certain movements, patterns, and details that I try to gradually incorporate." Rafa was literally a machine. That is a 21-year-old, on the day of her birthday, at Roland Garros, giving you a scouting report on the greatest clay player in history, and telling you she is surgically extracting the parts of his game she can replicate. That is not a junior prodigy finding her footing. That is a professional player building a system.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
She's
But,
played some exhibitions that we've
yeah,
seen.
so no, and then I saw Simone Biles in person, and I saw all of these amazing athletes, and it was so inspirational.
It's nice to know that athletes get starstruck. Normally, people are getting starstruck meeting you. You still get starstruck meeting
Yes,
these
but
players.
Now let's put the birthday into the full picture. Alex Eala was born on May 23, 2005, in Quezon City, Philippines. Her Australian Open pre-tournament press conference in January 2026 was watched online by 171,000 people. Carlos Alcaraz's got 29,000. Coco Gauff's got 29,000. Arina Sabalenka's got 9,000. At the Australian Open, thousands of Filipinos queued for Court 6 to watch her practice session, a queue that stretched several hundred yards through Melbourne Park. The AO had never seen anything like it for a player not in the top 10. In the Miami press conference at 3:16 of Source 2, she was asked what changed in her life after winning Miami. She said, "I definitely have a lot more exposure now in the public eye. which is such a blessing. I really do work so hard. And yeah, it's acknowledged and it's celebrated. Then, at 3:57, she reflected on Miami as a turning point in a way that most tennis channels completely skipped. This is my first year being fully on tour, so since Miami of last year, I haven't played a tournament that wasn't WTA. The level that I am surrounded by has really kicked up a notch. In other words, from the moment she beat Swiatek in Miami 2025, every single match has been WTA level. No more wildcards, no more qualifiers, no more ITF events as stepping stones. Pure WTA every week for a full year. And she just turned 21. At the Laureus Sports Awards earlier this year, the same event she described in the Rome interview at 5:11, she was surrounded by Novak Djokovic, Eileen Gu, Nadia Comaneci, and Simone Biles. She said at 5:27, "I was shaking to ask for that selfie." And then at 5:43, "I saw Simone Biles in person, and I saw all of these amazing athletes, and it was so inspirational." She is still starstruck by athletes outside her sport. She is still the girl from Quezon City. And she said so on her birthday, on the clay of Roland Garros, in front of the whole world.
Drop in the comments, does Alex Eala's mindset of the obligation is to myself first make her more dangerous going into this match against Jovic? Or is it pressure in disguise? Here's the take. Alex Eala is the most psychologically interesting player at Roland Garros 2026. Not because of her ranking, not because of her draw, but because she is the only player at this tournament who stood up on her 21st birthday and told a room full of journalists exactly how she thinks about pressure, and it was the opposite of what they expected. It's nothing compared to what regular Filipinos face. That quote is not humility. That quote is armor. A player who genuinely believes that their toughest match on clay does not compare to the daily reality of the people watching them from Manila and Cebu and Davao, that player is playing with a freedom that no ranking can manufacture. In her Miami press conference at 2:01 of Source 2, she said it cleanly. All the work's been done before this tournament. This isn't a tournament where everything's on the line. In her Rome interview at 3:14, she said it again. The obligation first and foremost is to myself. And at Roland Garros Media Day, confirmed in the Punto de Break interview, she said, "I don't feel like I have anything to lose this week, and that also allows me to play with more freedom." 3 quotes, 3 tournaments, 1 player who has figured out how to carry a nation without being crushed by it. Eala wins her first Roland Garros match in 2026, not because of talent, not because of the draw, because she is the only player at this Grand Slam who turned 21 on Media Day, dropped a bombshell quote about everyday Filipinos, walked to the Eiffel Tower to post a birthday TikTok, and woke up the next morning ready to play the world number 17. That is not pressure. That is freedom. You now have the complete picture. 3 versions of the bombshell quote, from Manila in January, Rome in May, and Roland Garros Media Day on her 21st birthday, the Rome interview timestamps, the Miami press conference mindset, the Laureus ceremony where she was shaking asking for a selfie with Novak Djokovic, and what all of it means when she walks onto the clay tomorrow. No other channel built this today. Subscribe now. The moment that first round result drops, I'll have the full reaction and what it means for her ranking and her path through the rest of the tournament. The next video is coming the second the match ends.